Alright, we're coming up on that time of the year when we're gonna start seeing the rest of what Nintendo has. We just put out a video talking about all the games that are coming. If you wanna watch that, I'll link it at the end. But right now, I wanna talk about something a little bit different. I wanna talk about these rumors. And we've lately been trying to stay away from all these leaks and rumors because bottom line is most of them are fake. Most of them are made up. People on Twitter looking for clout, looking for credibility. So we've, for the most part, stayed away from a lot of this stuff. But today, I have a few things here that I think are actual probable things that we could see in either the rest of 2022 or early 2023 even. So this should be a relatively quick video, but we're gonna talk about what I think are the real Nintendo leaks of 2022. What's up guys? Welcome back, or welcome in for the first time. If you're new here, do me a favor, look down below. Make sure that you're subscribed. You may think that you are subscribed to this channel. Maybe you're not new, maybe you've seen a few videos. Check down below, make sure you are. Definitely appreciate that. Let's go ahead and start with these GBA rumors. The Game Boy Advance looks like it's coming to the Switch Online service. Now, whether that's gonna be the expansion pack or, you know, just the regular service, I would say GBA is more of an expansion pack thing. I don't think they're gonna put anything like that on the regular version now, unless they wanna increase the price of that, which I don't think they do at this point, considering all the stuff that they went through and all the hell that they got from the $50 price tag on what they have now. Not what we're talking about, but it looks like that's actually happening. Now, this was leaked on 4chan, so that is, we're not starting out great, but this person dropped these files onto 4chan and they were opened, and they're basically the emulator for the GBA on the Nintendo Switch. There's a ton of information in there. The emulator is called Sloop. It is the Sloop emulator. Sure. And there were a huge list of games that they had, including Mario Kart. I mean, all kinds of stuff. You know, the Metroids. We actually went over this on the podcast. I'll link that episode down below. So if you want to go watch that, we did talk about that on the podcast a while back. Definitely interesting stuff. I never made a video on it though, because like I said, I tried to stop talking about all these rumors and stuff because you just never know. But I think this one, I do really think this one is real. A lot smarter people than me have looked at this and they say, yeah, this is definitely from Nintendo. This is something that's actually going to happen. Now when? Who knows? I thought at first, when they first started putting this out, it sounded like it was gonna be the next week. We didn't see that. So obviously, it's gonna be a while. If I had to guess, I would say September. That sounds like a September Direct type of thing. You know, that's when the service kind of started. That's when people first started giving their money. So they tend to, around that time of year, do things to make you, you know, stay invested. So GBA would be one of those things, you know, if somebody maybe was unhappy with the 64 games or, you know, whatever, if they're unhappy paying for the upper tier and they think, you know, after this year I'm gonna go back down, this could be something that could stop them, keep them from leaving and stay with that service. A lot of people love GBA. There are a ton of great games on the Game Boy Advance. Lots of options. Looks like the list is huge. In those folders, there's also talk of multiplayer, which is something you could do with the GBA with a link cable. My guess is that's gonna be basically the same, only it's gonna be wireless, you know, wireless local multiplayer or online, I would imagine, since we have online with everything else. How well it'll work, we'll have to wait and see. The other ones seem to be getting a little bit better, but Nintendo Online is what it is. So I really, you know, I wouldn't hold my breath for it to be amazing, but I'm sure it'll be passable. Some of the 64 stuff's pretty good. So the next one I want to talk about here is The Legend of Zelda in 2022. Now, as we already know, we've talked about this in several videos. We talked about it 6 months ago. We talked about it 6 weeks ago. We talked about it when it happened. Breath of the Wild 2 was delayed to 2023, which is something I think a lot of us figured was probably going to end up happening with, you know, pandemic stuff, all kinds of things going on. It's okay. I want a good Breath of the Wild 2. I want a great Breath of the Wild 2, not a buggy mess, not incomplete things, so whatever, that's fine. But that leaves us with the gap in 2022. There's no Zelda right now. Now, some of this is gonna be based on fact and some of this is just my opinion, but as far as my opinion goes, there are lots of Zelda games that this could be. Grezzo supposedly has Zelda games in the works or done, the Oracle games, Ocarina of Time HD, but I think, honestly, you probably know where I'm going with this. I think Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are probably gonna be dropped on the Switch this year. I really don't see why they wouldn't. I know a lot of us were saying, you know, during the 35th anniversary or right after that when we didn't really get a lot, that things may have been messed up by the pandemic. They may have started holding things back. I really honestly think that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker were some of those things. I think they've already had those done for a long time. I think they've been waiting to put them out for a situation like this. If Breath of the Wild were delayed, I think that's why they kept them back. I think it's why they kept a lot of stuff back, just in case. So they had something for not only this year, but who knows, at the time they probably didn't know how bad it was gonna be. If they were gonna be delaying this thing, would it be 2023? Would it be 2024? You know, at that point they really couldn't have known. We didn't know how long all this stuff was gonna last. So I think they pulled a lot of stuff back. Now I'm gonna put this quote from Jeff Grubb up on screen for you guys to read. Obviously this isn't a fact, he doesn't actually know this, but this guy's knowledgeable. His track record's great, he pretty much knows what he's talking about. He's not just some, you know, random faceless person on Twitter trying to get clout. He knows what he's talking about, he knows people. He seems to think that these games are coming this year. I can't help but agree. He's saying October, that sounds about right. I mean, with Breath of the Wild 2 out of the way, move a couple things around, you got this here, you know, Pokemon in what, November? I mean, a Zelda remake in October, it sounds about right. Now, this is what I'm concerned about. I think we're gonna get one of two things. I don't think it's gonna be Twilight Princess only. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think we're either gonna get both of them, which I keep going back and forth on. I really have no idea. I'd love to get them both in a double pack. It's really hard for me to see Nintendo doing that. But I think since they are older games and then already remastered, you know, and then put on the Wii U, and then coming to the Wii U again as they were, you know, a lot of the games that were ported from the Wii U were Wii U games. So I can see maybe still charging full price for those. But these are games that have been ported and then ported again. It's kind of hard to justify $60 for each one, but I mean, if anybody's gonna do it, it's definitely gonna be Nintendo. I think if we don't get a double pack though, I think it's gonna be Wind Waker. I think if they have to choose one or the other, I think Wind Waker is probably the one that they go with. For some reason, I just feel like when it comes to Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, just right now, just putting the feelers out there, I feel like Wind Waker just has a little bit more hype right now. I feel like it would be a little bit more well-received than Twilight Princess. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Twilight Princess. It's my favorite Zelda game. It's my favorite game ever. I love it. But I think right now, Wind Waker is probably the one we're gonna see. The facts that I have to back this up, and they haven't given us any other indication. We've got no other indication other than what they told us, and the who I'm talking about is Nintendo. They told us they want to put a Zelda game out every single year, and they've done that. They've done that since Breath of the Wild, and with the success of Breath of the Wild, you have to remember this. When Skyward Sword was released on the Wii, it didn't do very well. Zelda was a dying franchise at that point. You know, there were us hardcore fans who still loved Zelda, but it was dying. That game did not sell well. Twilight Princess was the best-selling Zelda game until Breath of the Wild, which I believe now is at about 24 million copies, which that's well over double what Twilight Princess did. Well over. I really do think it's very smart to put a Zelda game out every year. I think Nintendo knows that. I don't think we're gonna have a problem doing it. They have two probably right there, maybe 3 or 4 that are already done. It's also possible we can see a brand new 2D Zelda. I keep saying that. That's what I really hope for. I want the remakes of the other ones, but I'd really love to see a new 2D Zelda. It's coming someday. I don't know when, but 2D Zelda, not dead. Now, to put a bow on the Zelda stuff, I think we'll probably see that at the E3 Direct. Obviously, there is no E3 this year, but we're gonna get a Direct in June. Yes, that's also, you know, rumor, whatever. Again, we talked about that with the whole September Direct thing. Like, yeah, we know there's gonna be a Direct. There's a Direct every year at that time. Just because E3 isn't happening doesn't mean Nintendo's not gonna go ahead and go with whatever they had planned anyway, because this is something they do every single year. It's one of their biggest shows of the year. They're not gonna just not have a Direct because E3 isn't doing what they're doing. It's gonna happen, so that's another one. Let's move on. I want to talk about, don't kill me. I want to talk about the Switch Pro or the Switch 2, whatever you want to call it. We don't have to say Pro. I may accidentally do it a few times, but we don't have to call it that. Just take a breath. Let's just talk about this for a second. Now, rumors are out there that we are going to see a Switch Pro or the Switch revision, the one with the better actual specs, sometime in late 2022 or early 2023, which I've said does make sense because we have Breath of the Wild 2 coming out at one of those times. We know now it's mid 2023, so that could be a time when we could see something like this. But something happened a while ago. If you're not familiar with it, there were some leaks from NVIDIA. If you don't know who NVIDIA is, they make the Tegra chip that's inside of the Switch. They partner with Nintendo. They make the Switch what it is. So there was a leak, files were found. talking about DLSS on the Switch. DLSS is deep learning super sampling. It's something NVIDIA does. It takes stress off of what would be the Switch itself and uses more of an algorithm to up the graphics, to make things look better and not use any more power. So essentially you can take a 720p image and make it 4K, or you can take, a 480p image and make it whatever. You get the idea. Better draw distance. It just looks better and it takes a lot less power. So you're not having to put expensive new hardware inside of a handheld device, which would up the price. But the thing about that is, that's fine, but the Switch right now does not have the actual hardware inside to run the DLSS. So that's a problem. But in this leak, there was also a folder showing what is called NVN2. Now, NVN is the API that the Switch has right now. NVN2 is clearly the next version of that. There's DLSS stuff in there. Obviously, this is going to be for Nintendo. Maybe it's not a Switch. It might not be a Switch. It might be whatever they're working on down the line, just, getting started on that, which that's fair. It may be. I would say we're not gonna see the end of the Switch anytime soon, and I don't think they're just going to skip over whatever they're doing with the Switch next and start moving on to that. I would say this is for a Switch 2. This is for a Switch Pro. And now, if that's not enough for you, there's another piece of info that I really think kind of cements this rumor and confirms it, more or less. There was a job listing put out by somebody that works at NVIDIA. I'm gonna put that up here. I'm gonna show you guys what this says. Essentially, it's basically saying that they're working on the new Switch. They're working on optimizing things for the Switch. They're talking about lesser hardware, and if you know what NVIDIA does, they don't make a lot of lesser hardware. They make a lot of high-end graphics cards, things like that for PCs. They're not working on a lot of low-end stuff except for the Switch. That's basically it. Now, could it be something else? It could be, but both of those things together really tell me we're gonna see something soon. They wouldn't be doing all this stuff they're doing right now if it weren't going to be happening sometime relatively soon, I would say. If they're hiring somebody to work on that stuff, they're not gonna hire them and then just sit on it for a year after it's done. They're gonna put it out. They have to make money. Now, the question is, when is that gonna come out? Are we gonna see that in 2022? My guess is no. My guess is we're gonna see that thing, I would say, probably 2023. It seems like Breath of the Wild 2 and the Switch 2, or the Switch, the Super Switch, not that other word, we won't say it. But I think that's probably gonna go right along with Breath of the Wild 2. It makes a lot of sense. We've seen new hardware come out with Zelda games on the Switch. We had Breath of the Wild at launch with the regular Switch. The Switch Lite, we had Link's Awakening. Now, the OLED was Metroid Dread, so that was different. But still, Breath of the Wild 2, the Switch 2, I think those two things go together pretty well, whether it's the Super Switch, Switch Pro, or the Switch 2. I think it's gonna drop when Breath of the Wild drops. But I would not rule out, and I'm just throwing this one in as a bonus, because I don't know if this is right, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I would not rule out seeing this year, in 2022, a Switch Lite OLED. I think they need to refresh that one, because if they go ahead and put out this new one, and eventually phase out the original Switch with the regular screen, that light is going to be a little bit out of place with that older screen. It's not going to be quite as enticing at that price point when you see, the OLED screen and then the Pro with whatever screen it has, probably the same one, but it's, doing 1080p, it's doing this and that. That light's it's gonna not really be as much of a draw, I think, unless they put a new screen in it and do something a little bit different with it. But guys, that is all I have for this one. Let me know down in the comments which of these rumors do you think is actually true. I think we can probably expect to see all of them. Again, that's just my opinion. Like I said, let me know down in the comments what you think, or if I missed one, tell me what you think, something that's actually going to happen, a rumor that you've heard. Tell me if it's actually gonna happen down in the comments. But again, that is going to do it for this one, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like. Make sure you are subscribed. We'll see you in the next one.